Shalom everyone, and we're learning today Parashat Re'eh, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 26. That's the beginning of the parasha. Re'eh means see. Okay, the parasha is full of mitzvot, precepts, morality, but we can say that the word see can somehow summarize the whole meaning of this parasha. And that's the first word of the parasha, Re'eh, see. Reish Aleph Hey. Okay, so it says, basically, if we translate the first verse, it starts with, see, I ask you to see, okay? Anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. I am giving in front of you today a blessing and the curse. And the question is the old age question: if God is so good and so great, how come he gives us the curse? Okay, very simple. And Rabbi Ashlag is teaching us, the author of Perush Sulam on the Zohar, the founder of the modern Kabbalah movement, is asking the question, he's saying, like, why is there evil in the world? People ask these questions since the moment people started to think. Okay? And they had few answers. One answer was, the universe is full of many, many forces. They fight with each other, and we humans, we fall in between all of these forces, and you need to be lucky if you want your life to be okay, and you need to, many times, to appease those forces, and that's the birth of polytheism, the paganic polytheism. Now, Rabbi Ashlag is teaching us there was another aspect, the aspect that said it's called the two authorities. There's the God of light and the God of darkness. And a lot of people do believe in that, even if they don't think so. You know, there were some religions that believed in the God of light and the God of darkness. Okay, and there's a fight between these two gods. By the way, a lot of people declare themselves monotheists. The way they think, they really believe that there are two authorities, which means there's a God of light, the God of darkness. They fight with each other, and too many times the God of darkness, or Satan, or the dark side, whatever you call it, or the opponent, and he wins, which means they give independency to the God of darkness. Okay? And this is not monotheism. So what's the problem? So somebody's not monotheistic, so what's the problem with that? Here in this parasha, we have a very, very deep understanding how important it is if you are monotheistic or not. And the answer is over here. And again, the question is like this. Why do we suffer? Why do people suffer? And the answer, whoever studied a little bit Kabbalah, that there are no free lunches. Okay? What does it mean, no free lunches? You cannot give somebody happiness. You cannot give somebody success. You cannot give somebody fulfillment, and all of that, lasting fulfillment, lasting happiness, lasting success. Temporary, yes, you can give somebody temporary success, okay? But there's always the morning after. Why is it like this? Because these are the rules of the creation, and we learn it from Genesis chapter 1, as we studied that many, many, many times, that in the beginning, the creation was basically, when we go to the Kabbalistic origins, you can see it in Genesis 1, verse 5, and there was a night, there was a day, one day. One day. How come the night and the day are one? Here we have the darkness and the light are one. The curse and the blessing are one. It's all one. And it was created as one. However, we, the creation, we, the product of the creation, and again, we go back to the system of thought, the school of Rabbi Ashlag, what can be defined as a creation? The flowers, the birds and the bees, the skies, the sun, everything that we can experience is the energy of the Creator, and there's nothing but Him. So what in the creation is not the Creator? And the answer is very simple. The vessel to receive His bliss, the vessel to enjoy His light. We were created as a vessel, and that is the only aspect of the creation that is really something from nothing, ex nihilo. That something from nothing is the desire to receive. The Creator has no desire to receive because the Creator is only endless power of light, of energy. And therefore, that light must flow into something. That something is the vessel, that something is the creation. Now, so what's the difference between one book and another, a cup or a bird? The difference is not the godly light inside of it. The difference is the vessel that reveals that light, which means we have many examples nowadays in the world of technology. How many how many kinds of electricity do we have in our home socket? And the answer is only one. So how come that electricity, that is one, how come it can heat our ovens, warming system, it can heat our iron, so we can iron our clothes. Same time, the same electricity can cool the house. If you use a refrigerator or an air conditioning system, it can cool your house, can cool your food. Okay, the same electricity, which means the energy is the same energy, but the vessel that reveals that energy differs. That is what special about the creation. That the vessel is diverse, there are multi levels of the vessel. Same thing, every energy that is generated in our universe has a scale. Like the sun does not generate only one wavelength of electromagnetic radiation. It's the whole scale that has from the red all the way to the ultraviolet and above it. So we understand that all of this depends on the vessel, the energy, the light is always one. So relatively, the vessel is darkness relatively to the light. So when it says there was a night, there was a night, there was a day, there was a night, there was a night, there was a day, one day. So here's the vessel, which is the creation, the only thing that was created, and the light, which is the what flows from the Creator. They were one. So here we have it already in verse 5 in the Genesis, that tells us they were all one. And here, that's a basic of everything. Oh yes, on the second day, what was the second day? The second day was the opportunity of the vessel to be a creator on his own, because on the second day, the Torah tells us how God separated the universe and broke the unity that was on the first day. And again, it was not first day, it was one day. One, there is no other. Everything was one. Now, the fact that we have in our universe the opportunity to create, to put things together, to share, That is the purpose of the creation, so the vessel can become in affiliation or attachment to the light, and there will be a sort of equality that is being gained by the space that has been created by the diversity of this universe, and especially by the creation of void, the creation of what looks like uh, the void or the absence of the light of God. If there is no absence of the light of God, there's no a process of hard work, acquiring, acquisition, and like you cannot make the effort in order to achieve something and have ownership over it. This is the base of everything. And therefore, this is the base of everything that happens in our reality. And therefore, why do bad things happen to good people? Because if there were only good things happening, where would the good people find the space to create, to generate, to share, to be like the light? And we'll see that this motive appears in the parasha many times. First of all, the verb that starts the parasha, it's the name of the parasha, re'eh. Re means I ask you to see. Okay? Now, to see what? And it says, I'm giving in front of you today the bracha uklala, the blessing and the curse. Okay? So there's no Zohar just about this parasha. You can find some verses of the parasha being related to in other parashot in the Zohar. We're going to access them also. And we can find the first one in the book of Genesis, Parashat Vayishlach, in the Zohar, about this verse. And it says this, Rabbi Yehuda patach v'amar. Rabbi Yehuda patach, opened and said, Ki yesharim darkei Hashem v'tzadikim yelchu bam. The ways of God are straight and honest, and the righteous will walk on these ways. כל דרכי הקדוש ברוך הוא, all the ways of God, כולם ישרים ודרכיו אמת. They are honest, and his paths are true. ובני העולם אינם יודעים ואינם מתבוננים על מה הם קיימים. However, the people of this world, they do not have the ability to contemplate, see, understand that what are the ways of God. Why? Because everything in this world lives by the grace of the Creator. We'll see this is very important. ועל כן צדיקים ילכו בם, the righteous will walk in the path of the just. לפי שהם יודעים את דרכיו של הקדוש ברוך הוא ועוסקים בתורה. The righteous are not just righteous, they are righteous because they know which ways to take, which means they dwell, apply themselves with the ways of the Torah, and therefore they know that learning Torah, going by the rules of the Torah, brings you to be aligned with the values, the power, the path of God. Not because it is a punishment and reward, just because, as we read it also in the previous parashot, most of the book of Deuteronomy, if you read the book and you have a very religious, old-fashioned education, you think that the book of Deuteronomy is very punitive, which means it makes it very clear to you how much you're going to be punished if you go astray, if you're not going to listen to the word of God. And so what do? So all your days, you're afraid of the punishment, and that's the main motivation of your daily life, because You're always in fear that you're going to make a mistake, and then the God you believe in, okay, he's just waiting for you to make the mistake in order to smite you on the spot. Okay, so why do good people have bad things happening to them? It's because they made mistakes and were punished. Although they are good, but they are not perfect, and therefore the Creator will smite them, punish them, so because they do not keep His rules. This is one way to look at the story. However, this parasha is bringing us and asking us to change our point of view. And the Zohar said over here, we live only by the grace of the Creator. And I'll bring again one famous expression of the sages, יותר משהעגל רוצה לינוק, הפרה רוצה להניק. More than the calf wants the milk, his mother cow wants to feed him that milk. And that is being said about the Creator. More than we want the light of God and His grace, He wants to share it with us. Why is that so important? And I explained many times, and it's very, very important for our own personal success. It's not just a theological idea that it's nice to play with. It is essential for every human being's success. And the issue is like this. The moment I realize that my desire to have a nice life, that every human being wants to have a successful, fulfilled life, but what is my perception of successful, full life? And here comes the idea. What the Creator wants to give each one of us is much bigger than what we think we deserve or should or could achieve. So the moment we understand that, the moment we understand that the Creator's sharing with us is much greater than our desire to receive, and that moment we have, it changes the whole thing about what's happening to us. And Rabbi Ashlag says that in a very clear way. He says, why does it even say that's in one of the coming verses, it says, והיה כי הביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר אתה בא שמה. I'm reading verse 29, chapter 11. And when God will bring you to the land you're coming there to inherit, and you should give the blessing upon Mount Gerizim and the curse upon Mount Eival. These are two mountains next or around the city of Shechem, Nablus, in the northern part of the Shomron. Okay, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to put the blessing and the curse? Why not putting the blessing enough? Isn't that enough? So Rabbi Ashlag answers, and he says, this is זהו הסימן של הכניסה לארץ ישראל. This is the sign that when you come to the Holy Land, to the Promised Land, which means when you come to the place that you're destined for, and just in literally speaking, it's not just a physical location. You know, you can live in another country. The Promised Land is coming to the fulfillment of your calling, your destiny, the purpose of your incarnation in this world. Okay? How do you know you're coming to your own promised land? How do you know you're fulfilling your destiny as a human being? So says Rabbi Ashlag, כשיכולים להעמיד את הברכה והקללה בקומה שווה. When you can put the blessing and the curse one in front of each other, and you realize They are equal. What does that mean? And what it means that a human being must know in order to fulfill his destination that whatever looks like a curse or evil, it is equally important and a necessity in order to be successful in your journey in this physical world. Okay? The moment we can realize, and this issue is being discussed all over Jewish theology, the ability to see that even the curse is a blessing in disguise. Because if we are monotheistic and there's only one God and there's nothing but God, the curse is also a tool, a vehicle. It's there to bring us for success. How can you define success when you live in a world in which failure is impossible? Can success be determined without failure? Can light be defined without darkness? Can daylight be defined without night? Okay? All of this is a necessity. We live in a world that has the ability to cover, to hide God's bliss, only for the purpose so we can reveal it through our own effort. When we reveal it through our own effort, that is ours. Now we have ownership. Now you can define success. But when you live in a world in which whatever you do will be inevitably successful, what is the weight? What is the value of success? The word success has no meaning without the ability to fall. Okay? So, if we understand that curse and evil are essential for the feeling of success, so we look at our universe and at our life, history, whatever we go through from a different point of view. Now, what does it mean a different point of view? It's the way we look, the way we see. What's the name of the parasha? Re'eh. Re'eh means to see. Now, Re'eh is also one of the 72 names of God. Okay? It's the only parasha that its name is one of the 72 names of God, or from all 53 parashot of the Torah. Okay, what is this name stem for? What is this name of the every name of the 72 names has some powers, some qualities. What is the quality of the name Re'eh, which is you can find it if you have, you can, if you don't have, so you can look on the internet for the 72 names of God, where you'll find Re'eh at the bottom line. If you have the chart, the table, bottom line, number 1, 2, 3, 4 from the end, from the left, that's Re'eh. What is that? So one of a very ancient mystical book called Sefer HaPli'ah, many sages see it from see that it was written somewhere around the 1st century CE, and not everybody agrees with it, but it's an ancient Kabbalistic book. Okay, and it says over there that the name Re'eh is the ability to make everything look like it's coming from Chesed. Chesed means grace, loving kindness. Okay? So that exactly completes what we just learned. For a person to reach his destination, fulfillment of his calling, one of the major conditions that it's a must, you cannot without it, is the ability to look at the curse as you're looking at the blessing, which means the obstacle is the condition for the success. Without the obstacle, the success cannot be called success. Without the challenge, there's no achievement. Without the effort, there's no greatness. So when we look at everything that happens to us, then you'd never ask, why do bad things happen to good people? You just say, good people have challenges because let's say you're born good. Okay? How can you apply that? Okay? It's like you have to cash the check. You've been given a check. How can you really get the full value of it? You have to cash it. How do you cash the goodness? How do you know you're a good person? Only when bad things happen and you overcome the negativity, the darkness, and you turn it into success. I'll go back to a story that I like the most, one of the best stories in the Zohar. In the introduction to the Zohar, the beginning of the Zohar, there is a story over there about Rabbi, it's called Rabbi Chia's vision, the vision of Rabbi Chia. And it says, the story tells us about Rabbi Chia, who was one of the greatest students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, was very close to him. He was from the core group that were there in the Idra Zuta, which means the 7 chosen people, basically it was 6 plus Rabbi Shimon, were there with Rabbi Shimon when he dictates the last part of the Zohar and then he leaves on Lag BaOmer. Okay, and Rabbi Chia cannot stand the idea that he cannot learn directly from his master after Rabbi Shimon left this world. So the Zohar tells us that Rabbi Chia decided one day that he is going to apply to see Rabbi Shimon, to meet him in person. Although Rabbi Shimon is in the other world, he's in the Garden of Eden. So he fasted for 40 days, 40 days of focusing on ascending from the physical reality. We're talking about fasting, which means only during the since dawn till the stars come out, which means fasting during the day, and also at night it's prayers and study and prayers and study, and it's 40 days of real focusing on preparing oneself to go to the Garden of Eden. 40 days later, he knows Rabbi Chia is a very great sage. He ascends from his body and he travels to the Garden of Eden. He comes to the gate and they tell him over there that he has no authority to get into the Garden of Eden. So Rabbi Chia does not take no as an answer, and he goes back and he does the same thing for 40 more days. He doesn't take no as an answer. 40 days later, now it's 80 days, he ascends there, and he knocks on the doors of heaven, the Garden of Eden. And they open the doors and say, okay, you can come in. So somebody takes him to the place of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's like a big academy, and there are many, many holy souls there with Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Chia is describing to us. And Rabbi Shimon sees Rabbi Chia and he says, oh, here's our friend, beloved friend Rabbi Chia, come sit and study with us. And Rabbi Chia is in shock. He made it. You know, there's a difference between wanting it, dreaming about it, and then getting it. So in a place in which your conscious mind is totally in shock, you know, I'm in the Garden of Eden, I didn't die, but I'm still in the Garden of Eden in the presence of Rabbi Shimon and his friends, and I'm being invited to sit with them. So Rabbi Chia is sitting there, making himself small, and he's in awe from the study, from the powers, the forces, the light being revealed over there. And then suddenly, in the middle of that awesome session, another soul from a higher places comes to visit Rabbi Shimon. And as that soul comes into the academy of Rabbi Shimon in the Garden of Eden, that high soul sees Rabbi Chia. And that soul is in shock, kind of, what is immortal doing here in the Garden of Eden? Here in the Garden of Eden, there's only place for the ones who turned the darkness into light and the bitterness into sweet. Which means if we want to understand what life is about, it's not about achieving greatness and happiness. No, it's about dealing with the dark and with the bitter. Okay? So, the moment I have that vision of reality, and the tool for that is the name of God, Reish Aleph Hey, Re'eh. Okay? That when we need to see everything from, they call it with the pink glasses. So everything is painted with grace. So we understand that also all the obstacles, all the challenges, all the moments of darkness and pain and confusion that we have, these are also a gift given to us by the grace of God, so we can use those moments in order to achieve greatness, so we can overcome. And by this, we have ownership over the success that we want to achieve in our world. Okay? This is so crucial to understand. It's so important because the moment you really understand it and you can apply it, that whatever is happening is for the good, we will never be shocked. We will never be afraid. We'll never feel threatened. We'll never lose our wits, our senses, our self-control, and therefore we will never inflict pain upon ourselves, because all the pain that we experience is self-inflicted. Which means the moment I can see, and that's why Rabbi Nissim Peres, the great Kabbalist of blessed memory, used to say, you can read it, ראה אנוכי נותן לפניכם היום ברכה והקללה. See, I'm giving in front of you today the blessing and the curse. And then verse 27, את הברכה שתשמעו על מצוות אדוני אלוהיכם. The blessing is that you will listen to the precepts of the Lord your God. והקללה אם לא תשמעו על מצוות אדוני אלוהיכם. And the curse is when you don't listen. So it's not about punitive texts. It's about basically giving us an advice. As Rabbi Shimon says in the Zohar Parashat Yitro, it's an advice. Okay? The advice is, if you train yourself to see that the world has a structure, the world has a system of cause and effect, the same way that every house in the modern world has to be built according to the code of electricity. You need an engineer specialized in that to build the plan of the house. Otherwise, the house cannot be connected to the grid. Because if it is connected to the grid and it's not approved by an expert, the house can go on fire easily. People can get electrocuted easily and be killed when the code, if you follow the code, you're not going to suffer. You're just going to be able to get only gains from having your house connected to the grid. Same thing over here. You have a system that explains to you. There's so much light waiting for you. There's so much energy that you're supposed to reveal in your daily life and all your life. However, you need to understand that the same way that in electricity or in traffic, when you drive, you need to go by the code in order to get what you want with the least harm. Same thing, the universe is wired. The universe has paths that if you are aware, when you're aware of the system, then you can get all the gains from that system. But if you're not aware of that system, you have a problem. You're going to make so many mistakes, and then you think that all of that is punishment from the punitive God of the Bible. There's no punitive God of the Bible, okay? And then there's no punisher. There's no God sitting there in heaven waiting to smite you the first minute you have a mistake. No, that as it says in the book of Job, Ki foal adam yishalem lo. A person's actions will pay him back, which means your actions, if they apply or they go with the code, then you can take from the system as much power, bliss, and fulfillment as you can. But if you're not aware of the system and you behave against the rules, your actions are your executors. It's not that God will stop loving you. We'll see it later on. That can never happen. It's simply your wrongdoings create the same thing. They create the so-called punishment. You're simply connecting to the network in the wrong way. Therefore, it will create what you feel as a punishment, and it's not a punishment. It's simply cause and effect. You're doing the wrong thing. The lack that is being created instead of the fulfillment that could have been achieved is the punishment. But it's a regarding to your own action. Your action creates what looks like a punishment. There's no punishment. Okay? However, if the moment we train ourselves to look at it this way, then life changes drastically and it becomes what it's supposed to become. Okay? So what is what we call punishment? As the Zohar, the people that do not, the evil ones, they do not understand the rules. So if you do not follow the rules in the past, then you make so many mistakes, and these mistakes, they are your punishment. Because they don't know how to read reality. They don't know because they do not study the Torah. So they do not know how to operate reality. Okay? You know that, in every system in our universe, there are rules. Okay, let's say in physics, gravity, the rules of electricity. All of those rules are very important if you're not aware of them. Let's say you're trying to build a building, but you don't know anything about physics. Okay? So you don't know anything about gravity. You have a problem because you're going to build, let's say, 5 stories house, okay, that is not built properly to bear all that weight, and the house will collapse. Who knows how many days or weeks after you build it? Because you said, oh, I have a good intention, I want to build a house. Who cares about the rules? And you cannot say who cares about the rules. This whole universe has so many rules, and you need to calculate the rules of cause and effect in order not to create chaos, pain, and misery. So if that is very simple for everybody to understand in the laws of construction, engineering, also in electricity, as we explained before. But here we're applying it to everyday's life. You need to learn the Torah in order to know what should you do in order to connect to God's light. What is that you should not do in order to not to generate pain, misery, and suffering. So therefore, we're not talking about a punitive God or punitive text. We're talking about the text that tells you there are rules, and we recommend you to be aware of the rules so you're not going to misuse that system that is called human life. And if you misuse it, don't be surprised that you don't get the results that you were hoping for as you start the journey when you were young. Okay, so basically the rest of the Zohar of this parasha is talking about the same topic, the same idea. Okay, now, so that is very important, and it's this topic is we if we do not uh, uh, invest most of our energies when we study, we will have really trouble dealing with reality, because we know very well that people that are successful, one very important aspect of success is the ability that even you, when you fail, you do not see it as a failure, you see it as an opportunity or as a lesson. A person that tries to achieve something in his life, let's say a relationship, you want to get married and you try to create a relationship that will lead towards healthy family life. Okay, let's say you failed, or let's say you try to achieve a career, a successful career, and you fail. Okay, we have to understand that if we use that consciousness of re'eh, which means look at everything from a chesed point of view, which means, thank God I made the mistake so I can learn, and when I learn, I'll become a better person and I have a better ability to achieve stuff that I didn't even dream about in my wildest dreams. Okay? This is very important. The moment we condition our mind to that's what Rabbi Ashlag is saying, then you are ready to enter the promised land. Okay? You cannot enter the promised land. What I mean, the promised land? When a person has this kind of self-esteem that you know that you have the ability to deal with life, you're not afraid of challenges, you you walk in God's creation as a child in his father's garden. So you know that whatever uh, discomfort you're going to experience is just for a purpose, to give you an opportunity to rise up and to grow. The moment we have such a state of mind, such an awareness, we arrive to the promised land. We have self-esteem. We are not getting angry because somebody said the wrong thing. We do not get upset because somebody who promised something did not fulfill his promise. We do not get aggravated and threatened by all kinds of stuff around the world. We do not feel like we have no problem with as why do bad things happen to good people, because we think that we're working on becoming good people and all those bad things are not punishment. Okay, they are opportunities to grow. So when we are thankful, when we appreciate, that means we came to the promised land. That's what Rabbi Ashlag is saying. This is a condition, because otherwise you're not in the game yet. Okay, you're not professional. You're just still playing in the kiddie pool, and you have no idea what does it mean to really be and compete in the grown-ups pool. Okay, because you have no idea what does it mean success, and what does it mean really a fulfillment, a true lasting fulfillment. This is the main understanding. Now, Rabbi Ashla continues and he says, everything that happens to us, that many times it looks like it comes on our way to reach completion, achievement, holiness, okay? When that we see that as somebody is trying to spite us, okay? To delay or to stop or to prevent us from success, the moment we realize the real spiritual level, we realize that all of those obstacles were basically for us to raise us to a place in which we achieve true level of spirituality. Then we look backwards, we do not have any anger, remorse, upset about what we had, what happened to us, because we know it was there to make us grow. So we are thankful even for what we saw at the time, the curses. Okay? That is a condition for human beings' real true growth. Now, the next topic, you can find it in chapter 12, verse 5, and this topic looks like it's something else. It's also talking about coming to the promised land, but let's see what's in common. Okay, and it says, when you come to the promised land, chapter 12, verse 5, כי אם אל המקום אשר יבחר אדוני אלוהיכם, מכל שבטיכם לשום את שמו שם, לשכנו תדרשו ואתה שמה. You should come to the place that God is going to choose from all of your tribes to put his name over for his dwelling. You will come up pilgrimage to that place. והבאתם שם עולותיכם, verse 6, and you bring all your offerings over there, and your tithings and contributions. Okay? Now, if you look at it carefully, it says this place, it doesn't say Jerusalem, it does not say the Temple Mount Moriah, or the Temple Mount as we call it today. It says the place. The place. That's verse 5. Then we can find it again, verse 11. והיה המקום אשר יבחר אדוני, and the place that God will choose to dwell his name, there you will bring all your offerings and contributions. And then verse 14, כי אם במקום, but it should be only in the place, and the word is makom, again and again, makom. Okay? Now, where do we meet that place first time? So if we go to the book of Genesis, okay, we have the story of the binding of Isaac. And what does the story tells us? It says the story is starting in chapter 22 in the book of Genesis, verse 1. ויחד הדברים האלה והאלוהים ניסה את אברהם. And now it happened to be after those things that God, the simple translation is tested Abraham. Okay? But the Zohar says Nisa comes from the word miracle. He brought Abram to make a miracle. Okay, what was the miracle? He says Abram, and Abram said, here I am. And then God says the famous word, verse 2, Vayomer kachna et bincha et yechidecha she'ahavta. Take your son, your only son, the one you love, Isaac, et Yitzchak. Velech lecha el eretz Moriah. Go to the land of Moriah. Valehu sham le'olah lechad harim, and you bring him as an offering on one of those mountains. Okay? Now, skip few verses. Verse 4. Bayom HaShlishi, on the third day, Vayisav v'amitenav, and Abram raises his eyes, Vayar et hamakom merachok, and he sees the place from afar. Again, you have here two words coming together. Vayar, see, the place. So here we have the same place we're talking about in Parashat Re'eh, okay? And the verb related to it is to see. Again, Reish Aleph Hey. That's the verb. Here it's a conjugation of the verb, Vayar, and he saw. In Hebrew, the vowels change with the changing of this grammatical structure, but the source stays the same. So it's Reish Aleph Hey. Okay? And then the word Makom appears again. Verse 9, Vayavor al Makom, and they came to the place. The place. Okay? Then the miracle happens. Abraham comes to slaughter Isaac, his son, and the angel of God says, you do not kill the lad. Okay? And then what does it say? Verse 13. I'm sorry, that's after that. Oh, after the whole story is over, verse 14, Vayikra Avam Shem HaMakom Hahu, and Abraham calls the name of that place, again, the Makom, that place, Adonai Yireh Asher Yamer Hayom Behar Adonai Yireh. God will see whatever is going to be said in the mountain of God will be seen. So you see in the same verse, you hear again the word makom, the place, and two times the verb re'eh, to see. Okay? So, and then we will see that in this parasha, it says very clearly, again, the place, let me see where it says. The Bible says the mitzvah that is connected to it is called mitzvah re'iyah. 3 times, that's in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16. Okay. Okay, verse 16. It says very clearly, this is Parashat Re'eh still, 3 פעמים בשנה, 3 times a year, יראה כל זכורך, every male of you will be seen, the word again, the verb re'eh, במקום, in the place that God will choose for you. Okay? So again, we have the connection between the place of Beit HaMikdash, the temple, and the verb re'eh, and the holy name of God, re'eh. All of them are about one thing. When people come, and we know that God chose Jerusalem, okay? He chose Jerusalem from the beginning. Why? Because when God says to Abram, bring your son as an offering in the place, the word the place relates always, almost, to the place that later on the temple is being built over there, to Jerusalem, to that exact location that is the world's navel. That's the place that the heaven kisses the earth. The whole planet Earth connects to the upper world through that place. How do we know? I think that more than 2 billion Christians, 1.5 billion Muslims, and a few million Jews see Jerusalem as the place that if you want to ascend to the other world in your religion, Jerusalem is the place to ascend. That's the place, the gateway. As Jacob, the patriarch, says in Genesis, this is the gate of heavens. Okay, why do people come to Jerusalem? And I asked this question many, many times. Yeah, a lot of people say Jerusalem is the most beautiful city in the world. Physically, I don't think so. Physically, can you find in Jerusalem palaces and beautiful buildings like you can find, there is anything in Jerusalem that you can a little bit compare to the Taj Mahal or to the palaces of Vienna or Paris or London or other big places around the world, to the Kremlin? Nothing. Nothing. The buildings in Jerusalem are, quite poor. Even the Israeli parliament or the home of you don't have the president palace in Israel. It's just a little house, okay? Or the prime minister house. We don't have palaces, okay? So what's so special about the beauty of Jerusalem? Re'eh. There is God's grace that is over the city. When you can see that grace, it arises the grace inside you. People come to Jerusalem for that, because the way you look at life, the ability to see grace everywhere, the ability to be focused on that energy of loving kindness, to see God's love everywhere, it's easier to connect to that frequency in Jerusalem. This is the beauty of Jerusalem, not the architecture. So the buildings are covered with Jerusalem stone. It's not the stone, it's the energy inside the stone. This is the holiest place on earth, according to, I won't say most billions, the Muslims think that Mecca is more holy than Jerusalem. Still, in their memory, when their prophet wanted to go to heaven, he went to Jerusalem, okay, by some sources, in order to go, because the way to get to the gates of heaven, that's through Jerusalem. So the connection between the sight, okay, the ability to see what? To see this world and this life from a perspective of grace, that is the condition for success, lasting fulfillment, or even for free will, free choice. What is a choice? When we get upset and afraid and we get negative, we choose darkness. Who created that darkness? We chose it our own. It's our own making. In order to choose the light, you have to unsubscribe yourself from that darkness that you created, because the darkness we create is only ours, and we are the only ones who can remove it. And how to remove it? The world was built, it's programmed this way, so we can unsubscribe to the false belief in the independent power of evil. Evil has no independent power. Evil is a tool of God, so we can raise ourselves and earn enlightenment, earn greatness, earn godliness, because easy comes, easy goes. You want to achieve the greatest things, you have to acquire that sight of grace, that sight that you can strengthen when you come to Jerusalem. But what if you come to Jerusalem and you cannot see that? You look around and you see, what people, you see what? You see it's negative. You see it's bad. You see the world is falling apart. Did you hear about the global warming? Did you hear about atrocities over here? I'm telling you, the world is falling apart. It's getting worse by day. Does it? I asked this question thousands of times already. Is there anybody here that wants to go back 100 years ago? Human rights, quality of life, uh, uh, equality of people by the eyes of the law? What about social services? What about egalitarian, uh, equal rights towards of every person to achieve education and so forth? We cannot, we will never, with a clear mind, exchange today with 100 years ago or 50 years ago. The world is just becoming better. However, we need the curses, we need the failures of society, we need the mistakes in order to grow and outgrow them and use them as stepping stones on our way to greatness. For that, you need to basically train your mind and your heart to meditate and to see the greatness and the opportunity in everything we go through. This is the purpose of life. This is the real sight. This is when you say, oh, I see, ראיתי, אני רואה. Okay? So that is so important. But many times we feel perplexed, upset, fearful. We don't understand what's going around, and then we're looking for answers. And many times, instead of looking for the answers inside, which means the Torah is teaching us the answers are inside, just transform your outlook, transform your ability to see. And then you will always choose the right thing. How would you know? Day by day, year by year, you look backwards and you say, you know what? That was tough, but it was worth it. Okay? Because when you go by the values of the Torah, of honesty, integrity, hard work, not giving up, believing always in the good, always being positive, you fail, get up and start all over again. When you have that attitude of grace, of the sight, you see everything with grace, you will be successful and happy and fulfilled, and you will be guided to places you never dreamt that you are capable of going there. That's why he said, more than a calf wants the milk, his mother cow wants to feed him. Whatever we want for ourselves, whatever greatness we wish for ourselves, you should remember, what God has for us is so much bigger. When you realize that, it's so humiliating how limiting is our imagination and how great is the gift that is waiting for each one of us. So when we have that sight of grace and awe and excitement and appreciation, we will always make not the logical choice, but the right choice that will lead us for growth, fulfillment, and happiness. But what if we fail? We look always for someone to see for us. We look for prophets, clairvoyants, leaders that they claim they see for us. And the Torah continues, and the Torah gives us this story. Chapter 13 in Deuteronomy. את כל הדבר אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם, verse 1. Whatever thing that I order you today, observe it, guard it, לעשות, to do. Have the consciousness that we've been taught, positive, love, awareness, and the right actions. לא תוסיף עליו ולא תיגע ממנו. Do not add upon it. Do not remove from it. The way it's written over here, God never changes his decisions. And he never changes the wiring of his creation. And why is that important? Because verse 2 says, Ki yakum bekirbecha navi o cholem chalom. In case that amongst you will come a prophet or somebody with a dream. You know, all religions start with somebody who had a dream or a revelation that he claimed to be prophecy, and his followers see him as a prophet. ונתן אליך אות ומופת, and he will show you magical signs that he is the messenger of God, that he is a true prophet. ובא האות והמופת אשר דיבר אליך לאמור, and with that sign and that miracle will come that prophet, verse 3. And he says, let's follow other gods that are not mentioned in the Torah. לא תשמע אל דברי הנביא ההוא על החולם החלום ההוא. Do not listen to that prophet or that dreamer. Because God is, do you think this is outside the system? No. That's one of the obstacles that you need to overcome in order to reach closeness to the Creator. It's all to test you. Do you really love the Creator? If you love the Creator, you do not need more religions. You do not need more prophets. You do not need more miracles. After the Lord your God, you should walk. You should have awe of him only. You should keep his mitzvot, order, and listen to him. Okay, and that's what it goes. And let's go to chapter 14. You can read, it's very detailed in the book of Deuteronomy. We don't need other religions. We do not need other prophecies. It's very simple. Just train your eyes to see grace everywhere you go. Even if what looks from first eyesight as a curse, no, it is a blessing in disguise. Chapter 14, Banim atem la'Adonai Elohechem. You are the children of the Lord your God. You, all of you. Okay? How is that connected to what we said before? I think you already realize it. If you don't get it, let's read in the Zohar. That verse is hidden in Parashat Chayei Sarah, in the Zohar. Rabbi Yitzchak said, Bo u'e, come and re, see. The Zohar is all about come and see. Bo u're. כאשר ברא הקדוש ברוך הוא את האדם, when the Holy Blessed be He created Adam, נטל עפרו ממקום המקדש. Where did he take? We read in Genesis that God took the earth to make Adam. And he's called Adam because earth in Hebrew is called Adama. Adam is made from Adama. Which Adama? נטל עפרו ממקום המקדש. He took the earth he made Adam from where? From the place of Beit HaMikdash. From that same place that Abraham brought his son as an offering to God. The same place that Jacob had his dream with the ladder. Same place that King David bought from the king of the Jebusites to build the temple. Same place that King Solomon built the temple on later on. Same place that the second temple is being built more than 500 years later. So this is the place that most of the world see as the gates of heaven. So if we were created, if Adam, which is all the souls of all peoples of the earth, as it says, Kol Adam Shebaolam, every human being around the world, Kalul milemala ulemata, is included from above and from below. How? It's made from the earth of the place. The place that you, if you connect to that divinity inside you, you realize you are God's only child. Among all of humanity, we all God's only children. Okay? And therefore, you are not supposed to behave in manners that do not fit your status. You are God's child. You have to behave accordingly. You have some value that you have to keep. You have some honor you have to keep. You have some awe you have to keep because you're God's son walking on earth. And your body is made from the earth of the temple. And therefore, you have the ability as a human being that other animals do not have that ability to live in both dimensions at one. Yes, you need to feed yourself, your family, serve your family, your community, your country, all of that. Animals do that also. Okay? There are animals that are part of big families or tribes, communities, and they serve them. Yeah, but you have something else. You have something godly. You can do it for one purpose, to attach yourself to God, which means overcome the darkness. So when you achieve the light, it's your light. It's your sight. It's your connection. It's when you are attached to God, you you have ownership over it. This is the story. And therefore, if you know what to do, says the Zohar, you know also that everything that you do is with the purpose of concentrating to bring the holiness into this life. Depends, it could be bringing a child to the world, building a home, producing some service. You have the ability to have the sight, the awareness, the thought consciousness to bring light into everything in this world. That is the calling of every human being. And that is all centered in the Holy of Holies, in the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And that's why this is the world's navel that shines to the rest of the world. And that's what we want to connect. Thank you so much. And that's the secret of success.